We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. Here we are again, those were the days with Ward George. How are you, George?
I'm fine, Steve, thank you.
Good, and as always, like a shrinking violet, I will shrivel into my world where you take control, George, and tell us which year we've been transported back to.
2005, 2006. An interesting year because the pundits wrote off. Remember, the previous year were 14th, and some of the pundits were predicting that would struggle to get that this year, but it unfolded in a different way. As always with Newcastle, what happened off the field was just as interesting as what happened on the field. I mean, we did well in all the competitions. In terms of the Premiership, the pundits thought Chelsea would run away with it like they did the year before. We were nowhere, basically. Even locally, the pundits weren't up for it. But there were massive changes. I mean, glancing before we came on at the ins and the outs. I mean, the outs were more important than the ins. Coming in, Scott Parker, Emre, the Turkish midfielder, who I thought was a brilliant player from Inter Milan. Tim Krul from Den Haag in Holland. Craig Moore, Lee Clark came back. Albert Luque, from Deportivo, who flattered to deceive, in my opinion. And Michael Owen, well, when he came, God, I thought this is fantastic, you know. Nah, flattered to deceive again. And of course, Nobby Solano came back as well. So there was lots of ins, but the outs, 2 outs, which were important. Alan Shearer retired, and Hugo Viana went back to Portugal. So, you know, quite a lot of changes to grapple with. As I always do, putting things in perspective, trying to see what was happening in the world. Well, music-wise, it was some of these years I look at the music and I look at the artist, I think, did I ever hear that? Well, not this year. There's so many in this year. You know them all. Top of the Pops for 12, 14 weeks, I think it was. Is This the Way to Amarillo, Tony Christie? I mean, who could forget that? It was making your brainless. It was on so often. And then That's My Goal by Shane Ward, Axel F by Crazy Frog, You're Beautiful, James Blunt, Don't You, the Pussycat Dolls. McFly had two top records. Lonely by Archon, Hung Up by Maradona, You Raise Me Up, Westlife, my goodness, and Push the Button by the Sugar Babes. Well, that's a year of music that I feel I know something about, whereas I sometimes sit here and think, did I actually live in that period? if you go to the cinema, they go to the pictures, as we used to say. Batman begins. Sin City, Brokeback Mountain was a big money earner. Walk the Line, the 40-Year-Old Virgin, History of Violence, Munich, and Good Night and Good Luck. Some good films in there too. So quite a year outside of football, things were happening. But in football terms, in terms of us, well, it was, we had a season worth remembering, is how I would put it. And we started with, remember, we're in the Intertoto Cup. Yeah, the strips as well. I think some of these strips were nice. Some of the better goalkeeper strips, I think. Not that I was ever a person to buy the goalkeeping strips. But there were some good designs, I think, on those strips. And seeing Northern Rock on the front was quite nice as well. That really sets the scene quite nicely. When we set off, we're into Intertoto Cup with Dumitra, 2 games, Deportiva La Coruna, 2 games, and we did quite well in that. We in those 4 games, we won 2, we lost 2. We lost to Deportiva Coruña, but was enough to see we're through at the semi-final, and that's the first ones. The Tupinha, and so is that. Yeah, the league. We had a couple of friendlies thrown in as well, as always. Yedding, the non-league team we played in the cup the year before, obviously tapped Bobby Robson out, tapped the board up for a friendly, and then we played Bray Wanderers, and Bray Wanderers we played as it was a testimonial, and I think there's an unusual program there because it looks like it's out of place. It's got a 77 cover on it.
You sent us that last week, didn't you? Is that this one?
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, you sent me that last week.
And one of the reasons is that was a special program, and everybody wanted the cover, so they stuck the cover inside the program for this friendly. Anyway, it was an interesting start of the season. And first match, well, you can't get it any harder than and Dale Roberts' testimonial at Ipswich, and again, I'm sure that was arranged before Bobby disappeared or went, by Bobby probably. An old stalwart at Ipswich, who worked very hard with Jackie Milburn when Jackie was the manager for a short while. So it was a good link to the club. First league game, away game at Arsenal, and what a way to start the season. One of the teams that's been predicted to be up at the top there. Why not? I mean, the team of all stars, and they going to give us a hard time. We're not going to get away with an easy game there. Never do. And of course, we have to go with as strong a team as we have. Sooner sends Given, Carr, Bumsong, Taylor, Babiaro, Dyer, Jennings, Parker, Emery, Bowyer, and Shearer, and Nzogya and Dyer, and Milner and Fay on the bench. Arsenal, Lehman, Lauren, Toure, Senderos, Cole, Lundberg, Silva, Fabregas, Pires, Bergkamp, and Henry. A really talented side, Arsenal. And we give them a good account of ourselves. I mean, it wasn't until the later part of the game that Arsenal really took over, because until then it was end to end and 0-0 at half time, and we looked as likely to score as they did, thanks to the efforts of Shearer and Nzogya, really. And And we look like we're going to get a draw when we weren't going to get anything. And the fact is that until a silly penalty by John Allen Boomsong, and Thierry Henry put them 1-0 in the ahead at 81 minutes. And then just before the end, Robin van Persie nipped in to make it 2-0. So we lost 2-0, but we didn't give it away. We didn't throw it away. We actually gave a good account of ourselves, which is always refreshing. Next game is home game against West Ham United, and a game which the pundits don't give us much chance for. West Ham's playing well, got a fairly new side in some parts, but we feel unchanged team, giving Carr, Taylor, Boomsong, Babayaro, Janice Parker, Bowyer, Nzogya, Milner, and Shearer, and looking good. West Ham, Carroll, Rebka, Ferdinand, Gabion, Konchelski, Babayun, Mullins, Rio Corker, Etherington, Harewood, and Sheringham. And Harewood, of course, we got to know for a short while, big centre forward. A good game, but a game which was one of those games that at St James's full house, they could have played to the next day and nobody would have scored. Hit every bit of the woodwork they could, but at the end of the day, it was 0-0, and that's how it stayed. Just in the middle of the second half, there was some fisticuffs, and Konchesky was sent off for allegedly striking Shearer, and there was all sorts of handbags about it, scuffle. The interesting thing is, later on, after the match, the red card was rescinded and changed to a yellow card. And I think anybody that was at the match could hardly think that wasn't fair. It was one of these situations at handbags at 12 paces. You know, it was never anything vicious enough to be a red. But of course, how things change. So we're now where are we off to now? We're off to Bolton away. Bolton not playing very well and not getting much support from the pundits, that's for sure, but always trying to play football, always. And dangerous players on the side. Diouf and Davis, dangerous, and the Okocha and Giannopoulos, the Greek forward, always very dangerous. We go unchanged and to the Reebok Stadium, but in fact, unchanged or not, we struggle. We struggle from the off, and 37 minutes, Diouf makes us struggle even more by putting Bolton 1-0 in the lead, and everybody's hoping that they'll come out and have a go in the second half. Well, it's not like that. It's worse in the second half, and Bolton just take the game by the scruff of the neck, and Giannopoulos, the Greek midfielder, makes it 2-0, and the rest, as they say, is history. But disappointing, because everybody thought we might actually get something out of that match. Didn't happen. The next game is at home to Manchester United. Predicted by the pundits as one of the league winners this time, and why not, with the talented side that they've got. Van der Sar, O'Shea, Heinz, Keane, Ferdinand, Silvestre, Ronaldo, Fletcher, Van Nistelrooy, Rooney, and Scholes, and we unchanged, given Carr, Babayaro, Taylor, Boomsong, Parker, Dyer, Bowyer, Shearer, Luque, and Emery, and 52,000 in St James's Park, and 0-0 at half time. We're given as good as we've got, and everybody's hoping we'll at least get a point out of this. But the second half, Rooney showed what a great player he was going to be. To bear in mind that this time he was still a teenager, and he was just outstanding. And our lot, Boomsong in particular, and Taylor, they couldn't get near him, and it was inevitable that he would score in 66 minutes. He did, and then right on the last kick of the game, Van Nistelrooy made it 2. which kind of flattered them a little bit, but couldn't really argue about it. They were far and away the best side. So now we've got a game against Malaga, and it's in the I think it's a friendly, yeah, and the it's in Malaga, and it's I haven't been to Malaga and been to that stadium. What a beautiful little stadium it is. It was I went to see Malaga play Real Madrid when I was on holiday once with a couple of lads that were in the hotel, and the wait I was able to get were a couple of tickets, because tickets were hot cakes, and we went and seen Malaga. And just going into the ground, one of my mates is a Mars bar fanatic. He'd eat Mars bars for breakfast, supper and tea. And there was a wagon now just outside the ground selling Mars bars for next to nothing. I mean, in English money, it was just a few pence for a Mars bar. So we all had to have a Mars bar. And we opened it at half time. And the chocolate was white. It was so old. They were about 5 years out of date. No wonder they didn't cost much. We weren't bad, but just seeing Malaga there reminded us of the story. And we went to play this friendly, and it was a good exercise, I think. Give us a look at how we perform against a good continental side. Good game, but we lost 2-0, 0-0 at half time, and Juan Regis and Duda, Fernando Sanz and Salva were the forward line. Very dangerous group of players, both Spanish and Brazilian, and a good game, good run out for the team. No question about that. And so we come back, and we're at home to Fulham, and it's a game we should be winning if we're going to do anything in this league. But we get off to a terrible start. We're looking second best most of the time. And 13 minutes, McBride scores for Fulham. So it's 1-0 at half time. After second half, the team comes out, and it looks like they're going to have a go on, but they're flattered to deceive. It's not very nice to watch. Interestingly, the reporter on these things talks about the conditions, and his report about the conditions for this match were depressingly familiar, which probably sums up the game. We're not in our best mood in this, and McBride scores on 13. Charles Nzogua equalises on 78, but there's never any look like we're going to actually win the game, so we get a point at home for that one. And it's a start. It's a point on the board is all I'd say. We're then away to Blackburn Rovers. Again, a side that we should be in with a shout of getting something out of. And so we go to Blackburn with unchanged team: Given Carr, Boomsong, Taylor, Babayaro, Fai, Bowyer, Clark, and Zogya, Shearer, and Owen. And Blackburn, a talented side, but with a lot of names that are on the wrong way side of 30. Friedel, Neil, Kajlavili, Nielsen, Gretzko, Robbie Savage is there now, Monoka, Reed, Pedersen, Bentley, and Bellamy. Well, Bentley's a talented player. Need to keep your eye on him, but he doesn't last long. He gets injured very early, and Chevy Kushti, who we get to know quite well, comes on, and it's our game from the off. It's our game, but we can't score. 0-0 at half time. How on earth it was, nobody knows. But second half, it was Alan Shearer on his old turf at Blackburn, turned the game completely in with his performance. So 62 minutes, Shearer scores. 66, Michael Owen scores. In 85, Charles Nzogya scores 3. go 3-0 winners, and nobody could argue about it because we were far superior side by a long way, and we're starting to climb to mid-table now. We're not hanging around the bottom as we had been up to now, and it's refreshing, is how I describe it. Certainly, the chat in the Gallagher corner was about what about the next time, and there's so much happening that off the happening on and off the pitch. Anyway, that's Blackburn, and our next game is at home to Manchester City. Another home game, a chance to get a few more points and shift up the league table. Games against Manchester City always interesting, and they came with very talented side. James, who they got from Liverpool, Ohunia, Diston, who used to be ours, Dunn, Thatcher, Jahai, Barton, Reina, Masumpa, Sibierski, and Vassell. Very, very tidy side. We go unchanged again, and it's refreshing to see Souness sticking to a set team. Good game. Full house, 52,000, and end-to-end stuff. And it's Michael Owen after 18 minutes who breaks the deadlock. We go in 1-0 at half-time. After half-time, everybody's hoping we'd get a few more, but it doesn't happen because Manchester City have shut the gate and got everybody behind the ball. So it's a 1-0 win, but a win nonetheless, which pushes us right up to the middle of the table. And we're at Portsmouth away. Interesting game, but a boring 0-0, as you'll see. I mean, it's difficult to get anything out of the reports of the match because it just is so boring, and they could have played another couple of days and they would never have scored. But nonetheless, it means we get a point and we're still stuck in the middle of the league where we want to be, pushing upwards rather than downwards. So it's a trip to Portsmouth that is a bit of a letdown, but nevertheless we don't lose it. That's the important thing. The next game is Wigan away, and interesting one with Wigan being kind of the the little team of the Premiership, small club, small town, but nonetheless supported by a wealthy man, and not a bad side, playing reasonably well, but shouldn't be beating us. I mean, we should be going there and winning, but it's not like that. We can just come out and go for it straight away. The team, Whelan, Chumbonda, Dizu, Henshaw, Baines, Bullard, Kavanagh, Francis, McCulloch, Roberts, and Camara. Talented side, but some of them on the wrong side of 30 and lucky to be still playing, but never mind, that's how it goes, and they're making a good fist of it. 40 minutes, Roberts scores, and we're 1-0 down, and that's the way it stays. Never looked like scoring anymore, and neither did we. Towards the end, it gets a bit spicy, so we end up with Francis and Herzog on Wigan's team booked, and we get Amiobi, Taylor, and Carr booked. And just before the end, the midfielder McCulloch takes a swing at Aaron Shearer, and it didn't connect, but the swing was enough to get him the red card. So the red card in that match. I mean, why anybody would want to swing at Shearer? Well, I don't know why they would want to, because he's nowhere so and so. So right, we're back home to a derby game against the Mackhams. Looking forward to it's going to be a tough game because they're up for it as well. There's no doubt about that. And so we go 34 minutes Amiobi, 35 minutes Lawrence for Sunderland, 37 minutes Amiobi, 41 minutes Elliott for Sunderland. So we go in at half-time 2-2. And that's how it looks it's going to stay. We're struggling to break them down and all the rest of it. And then lo and behold, just over the hour, we get a free kick facing the Gallagher end, and everybody lines up. And who takes the free kick but our little Turkish friend, Emre, and over the top of the wall and into the top corner. And he suddenly becomes a Macam Slayer, because that's how it stays. 3-2 is the final score to us, and a good victory. We two bookings on each side, so there was a bit of space, but it wasn't anything that we threw over the top about. It was nice, but a nice tidy victory against our old opponents. And next we go to the Carling Cup, whatever sort of cup you call it these days. Third round, and we go to Grimsby. Shouldn't fear Grimsby, at Blundell Park, but have a habit of making life difficult for us when we played them in the past. And so we go with no messing about, full team: Given, Ramage, Taylor, Bramble, Babiaro, Solano, Fahy, Parker, Nzogga, Shearer and Chopra. And they've got Middlehall, McDermott, Whittle, Rob Jones, Newry, Andrew, Kudimba, Carla, Bolland, Cohen, Reddy and Gary Jones. And a hard side. They're not going to give anything away too easily. 0-0 at half-time. Lots of hustle and bustle, but nobody putting the ball in the net. Then after half-time, we start to see some of our senior players like Shearer and Solano starting to make their way into the Grimsby Town defence. And eventually it pays off on 80 minutes when Shearer scores the only goal of the game and gets to got to a result on 1-0. In the end, a good win. Home then to off we come to an away game at West Bromwich Albion, and West Brom aren't playing very well. Predictions from the pundits are that they're going to be in trouble. Well, judging by the way they played in this game, they certainly would be in trouble, because we had no difficulty at all. 0-0 half-time, but then straight after the half-time whistle, Owen gets 46 minutes, gets one goal. We gets the second on 76, and Shearer gets the third on 80, and we're 3-0 up and going our way. West Brom, some interesting players: Semica, Curtis Davis, Moore, Clement, Greening ex-Manchester United, Watson, Amamoto, Carter, Carnu, Earnshaw. But they're never in the game. It's Newcastle, and we run out 3-0 winners, which was hardly unexpected. Next game is Birmingham. We're away to Birmingham City. No, we're at home to Birmingham City. And again, 52,000 full house for this Premier League match. But Birmingham aren't going to lie down. They really give a good account of themselves. 0-0 half-time, and no surprising, because Birmingham have just shut up shop, as it were. And big defenders like Matthew Upson and Martin Taylor and John Clapham all blocking away, and of course their own little band of midfielders like Pennant, Izzet, Kilkenny, Lazaridis, and Heskey centre forward. So the tidy side, but shouldn't be really threatening us, but they do for a while. And then just on 78 minutes, Emery gets into the box and stays in mark and just skillfully slides the ball underneath the goalkeeper to give her a 1-0 victory. And that's how it stays. Next game is the away game to Chelsea. Now, as in the previous season, Chelsea has that Frank Lampard on the front, Chelsea captain. As in the previous season, pundits are expecting Chelsea to win this league, and they're running away with it at the moment. In the season before, they were 14 points ahead of the second team, and they're just too good for us. Simple as that. Do well to stay 0-0 at half time. Then Joe Cole, 47 minutes, makes it 1-0. Crespo makes it 2-0, and Damien Duff makes it 3-0. So it's a tidy victory for them. And as I say, that they're already looking like they're taking the league by storm, as it were. Nothing we can do about it. They're just too good for it. Next, we have a match at Everton. And Everton aren't expected to do very much this season. Bit like us, the pundits can't make their mind up whether they're good or bad or indifferent. But Everton play quite well. But we matched them. And first half's 0-0, but both teams could have had at least 2 or 3 goals each at Goodison Park. 1:30 kick-off at Goodison Park on a Sunday. And we eventually get... we lose 1-0, but we really shouldn't have done. We give this game away by sitting back too long, in my opinion. And they only scored the 1 goal by Yobo. And we never got back into it. It never looked like we'd get back into it. That was the saddest thing. And the teams, 2 talented teams. I mean, we're given Ramage, Bramble, Boomsong, Babiaro, Solano, Parker, Emery and Zogura, Alan Shearer and Amiobi. Everton team, Martin, Hibbert, Yobo, Weir, Neville, Arteta, Davis, Cahill, Van der Meade, Beatty, McFadden, and 2 good sides really. But a 1-0 loss wasn't the end of the world, but we could have done better, I think is the best way to describe it. Next, we're away to Wigan, Carling Cup 4th round, and at the JJB Stadium. It's a little stadium, but that doesn't matter. It's still tidy, and the fans respond to it in the best way they can. Half time 0-0 because it's quite dismal. People are still looking at the situation that there is at Wigan about the comings and goings and about the owner and all this sort of thing. But it's quite a tidy game. End-to-end stuff at first half 0-0, but away from the football, we're soon involved and having a go at them as best we can. And well, why shouldn't we with Shearer and Owen in the side, and people like Luke and Emery and others to set things up for it. It should have been a better result, but it ended up with Connolly, their dangerous attacker, getting his goal and making it 1-0 to Wigan. And that's how it stayed. We never looked like we would come back. Now we're at home to Aston Villa. tough game, and one which, if we're really going to make something in this league, we should be at least having a go at, making a fist of. And we do have a go. And 32 minutes, Shearer makes it 1-0, and everybody thinks, well, there's a possibility here. Well, there was. Shearer gets us off to a bright start on 32 minutes with a penalty. And it looks like we might hang on to that because that's where it goes at half time. But after second half, Villa turn on the heat a little bit. And on 75 minutes, halfway through the second half, McCann, their dangerous midfielder, makes it 1-1. And that's how it stays to the end. But a good, entertaining game, that one. One that people can at least think about. And next game is home game against Arsenal. And Arsenal doing well in leagues and cups. What an anticipation, I think, is how I would do it. And anticipated the fact that the ground is absolutely stowed off. I mean, it's 52,500. And I know there's many who were there that thought it was actually more than that because the number just didn't seem to fit the numbers that were stuck in the seats in various places.
Do you need a break, George?
Yeah. Let's have an advert, Steve, please.
Quick advert break. We'll be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member, for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today. Okay,
thanks,
welcome
Steve.
Back. Arsenal, that's where we're at, George.
Yeah, I turned the sheet over and there's no writing on the sheet, just the badges. I'd obviously picked 2 sheets of paper up, but we're fine. We're back on song, no problem. A game which everybody anticipated, Arsenal being touted as possible champions, challenge Chelsea, talented side, and 52,000 without any question coming to this one. But a game which, in my view, for the first time for a while, Newcastle was set up for it. They really wanted to have a go at this, and really, really interesting end-to-end stuff. Put some really good football. But Arsenal frustrated. There was bits of kicking that filtered into the game, and their little Silva, the little Spanish midfielder, was kicking everything that moved. I mean, it's the only way to describe it. And eventually, of course, he kicked one too hard one man called Shearer, and Shearer kicked him back. So Shearer got a yellow card, and he got a yellow card. And within seconds, he had another go at Shearer, and of course he got the red card. And in 57 minutes, off he went as a red card. But the promising thing about this for Newcastle fans was that Newcastle were having a go at Arsenal. They weren't sitting back and letting it happen. And to great delight of the Gallagher corner, Nobby Solano in 82 minutes got a free kick, floated it over the wall, and there we were with a 1-0 victory, which wasn't in the script. And Arsenal were definitely, you could see they were definitely miffed at that. They didn't expect to have that defeat. But it was a good game for Newcastle and a good victory. And next we have away game at West Ham, and always an interesting trip to the bowling ground, Oakland Park, and we feel an unchanged team, and the team's looking good. Played well against Arsenal. West Ham aren't up there with us. They're struggling to be middle of the table. So we go and in 5 minutes, it's you can see Newcastle at it. Michael Owen scores. Solano, unfortunately, shortly afterwards scores an own goal to make it 1-1. And then just before half-time, Michael Owen gets his second at 43, a neat flick from a corner. So going 2-1 at half-time. And things are looking really good. And on 66 minutes, Shearer makes it 3. And then Harewood gets a penalty for them, make it 3-2. And then Owen, right at the death, completes his hat-trick 3 to make it 4-2. A good game, and we actually played really, really well in this game. But again, there's little niggles throughout the game. And bookings for West Ham, Carroll, Ferdinand and Edrington. For Newcastle, Bramble, Amiobi and Parker. And it's just one of those games where little niggles at corners and things like that, when people were responding to them and having a go, really. So the next game is a tough away game at Liverpool, and never an easy place to go. But fans are hopeful that they might have a go. It's an interesting date for me because it's my birthday, 26th of December. Well, it wasn't much of a birthday on the pitch, I can assure you, because within 14 minutes, Steven Gerrard had put them 1-0 up, and just before half-time, Peter Crouch made it 2-0. And that's the way it stayed throughout the second half. We never really looked like getting back in the game. We're never really in it, but at least we didn't lie down and let it happen. The only negative bit for us was that a certain Bowyer got himself sent off for throttling Alonso, the Liverpool midfielder. They got close and words came to blows, and the next thing is Alonso's in the headlock by Bowyer, and Bowyer's in the dressing room. But disappointing that we didn't seem to really have a go at this one. We seem to think it was a bit of a letdown. Never mind. We come back to another match away, Tottenham Hotspur, another of the teams of 4 or 5 that are being touted as possible champions. And good game. We're in it right up to half time, and just before half time, Tonino scores one for Tottenham. But there's always every possibility that we get one back. But Tottenham up the tempo of their game in the second half, and we're just too good for Win to finish. Our team, predictable, given Ramage, Boomsong, Bramble, Elliott, Parker, Thigh, Solano, Shearer, Owen and Amiobi. Tottenham, big goalkeeper Robinson, Saltieri, Dawson, Gardner, Lee, Jennis, who used to be us, of course, Jermaine, Carrick, Davids, Tonino, Keane and Naido. And that's a really talented side. If you look at Davids from the Dutchman, and Carrick and Jennis in midfield, Naido in their front line. Very talented team, but nevertheless too talented for us with Tinino scoring on 43 and Maido on 66, and we come away with a 2-0 loss. We're next at home to the first of the Tyne teased derbies with Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough playing well and up there, surprising everybody. At this stage of the season, they were in 5th place and surprising everybody with how things were going. But then you look at their side and you think, well, why not with that talent? Schwarzer, Barnaby, Riggett, Southgate, Potiers, Morrison, Derivo, Mendieta, Catapult, Viduka, Yakubu. That's a talented side, and always going to give anybody a go. We're virtually unchanged, given Ramage, Bramble, Boomsong, Elliott, Solano, Fai, Clark, Amiobi, Shearer, and Luque. And it's a good game. The end-to-end stuff, and then just before just in the middle of the half, rather, Nobby Solano scores with a nice free kick on 27 minutes to make it 1-0. Stays that way till half-time. And it looks like that's how it's going to stay till the very end. But then on 54, Yakubu gets a goal. And then lo and behold, 87 minutes, Jimmy Floyd Hasselback comes on and makes it 2. And it looks like we're going to lose 2-1. But then on comes Clarkey. And on 93 minutes, well into injury time, he gets the equaliser, so we get 2-2 against Middlesbrough, and the lesson to be learned. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank may have been an old stager by then, but he still is a darn good footballer and scored a beautiful goal anyway. So that's it. FA Cup 3rd round next, and everybody's starting to get excited in the Gallagher corner. Mansfield Town at home. Well, that shouldn't give away any trouble. Well, it shouldn't give any trouble, but say that an awful lot with Newcastle United, especially against little teams. And even the writer of this, who gives the conditions, gloomy for most of the parties. And I think he's referring to the game because it was dire stuff. Yes, Mansfield never got out of their own half. Doubt if they even had a shot on goal, but that shouldn't be what was happening to it. We shouldn't let that govern us. It did, and it did. It totally swallowed us up. We couldn't seem to play a game at all. However, when you got somebody like Alan Shearer on your side, on 80 minutes, pile driver from 30 yards, and that settles the issue. 1-0 to Newcastle, and Mansfield's out of the cup. Then we're at Fulham. Talented side, but not a one that should be frightening us. These are teams we should be getting hold of. Unchanged team. Fulham with Neme, Rosnia, Knight, Pierce, Niklas Jensen, Radzinski, Boamote, Ledwinski, Elliott, Helgeson, and McBride. A very, very talented side, and one that's obviously going to give us a lot of problems. Although 0-0 at half time, it looks as though we're going to get away with this. Then on 75 minutes, Malbronk sails down the wing and crosses, and Shea Given misses the cross, and it goes straight into the back of the net. It's a clumsy miss by Shea, but one which you could see he's really upset about. But upset or not, it makes Fulham 1-0, and that's how it stays to the end. And now we're back to a home game against Blackburn Rovers, and everybody thinks, well, surely this is one where we're going to get our own back. You know, this is we won very easily at Blackburn. Let's see if we can't do it here at St James as well. Unfortunately, we couldn't. It was a dour game as Blackburn were playing, you know, 10 men behind the ball, and made no game of it at all. But as luck would have it, on these occasions, we get to 75 minutes and the ball bobs around from a corner, and Pedersen, the Icelandic midfielder, pops up from nowhere to poke it in, make it 1-0 to Blackburn. Well, that opens the floodgates, as it were, because Newcastle just go berserk after that and tries the might to do everything but tip the onion bag. And so it ends Newcastle United 0, Blackburn 1, with Pedersen's goal settling the issue. It's again a mystery. Another game that we should have won, and what we should do and what we do is, as with Newcastle, is always difficult thing to fathom. So we now into FA Cup territory, FA Cup 4th round again, playing Cheltenham Town, and people think this shouldn't be any problem. Well, it's not really. It's not really. We're settled down quite quickly, and within 40 minutes, Michael Chopra's made it 1-0. 43 minutes, Scotty Parker's made it 2-0, and a tidy victory. Even though we're pundits outside are predicting all sorts of disasters forward, there was never any sign of any disaster. So 2-0 through the cup, and not a bad game. We're now away to Manchester City. Haven't beaten them at St James's, but it'll be a tougher game at Main Road, City of Manchester Stadium by now, and it's evident from the kickoff it's not going to be our game. They Manchester City take it over and push us so hard, and within 14 minutes, Riera scores 30 minutes. Joe Cole scores, and then on 62 in the second half, Vassell scores, the talented striker from Villa at the board. So 3-0 to City, and we never looked like getting into this one. It's another one which seems to have slipped under the door, really, in terms of how things were going. The next is the home return game with Portsmouth, which was a really dour 0-0 at Portsmouth. However, it's not brilliant, but it's better than then. At least they are having a go, and with Shearer and Nzogua particularly coming close. Portsmouth, with a talented team, some of them talented has-beens, unfortunately. Kylie, the goalkeeper, has been here, there, and everywhere. Griffin, we know, Primus, O'Brien, Taylor, Routledge, Davis, Mendes, O'Neill, D'Alessandro, and Muskovic.
All right, George.
Yeah, it's a tough game. Now, I was just looking there to see the number of ex-Magpies in the Portsmouth side: Griffin, O'Brien, Routledge, and they give nothing away. They really have a go when they come to St James's Park. However, Nzogua in 41 minutes puts us in the league, and we're heading away to a victory. Portsmouth don't lie down. No, it takes the 64 minutes for Shearer to make it 2, and that's how it ends. But a tougher game than 2-0 suggested. As I say, the ex-Magpies in the team actually make it that little bit tougher. We're now away at Aston Villa. Now, this is not a game that people are expecting too much of, but from the off, Newcastle United really have a go at this one. This is something, well, there's been a long history between us and Aston Villa. Well, it certainly was in this game, because within 2 minutes, Shula Miobi's headed in from a corner and we're in the lead. 16 minutes more equalises, and 29 minutes, and Charles Nzogua made it 2-1. Now, that's how it stayed right to the end, but it shouldn't have done, because every bit of woodwork there's some little bits of metalwork, never mind woodwork, was battered by the ball from the forwards in this game. A really entertaining game, which we won, and won well. And the teams, well, we're unchanged, given Ramage, Bramble, Boomsong, Babiaro, Solano, Emery, Parker, and Zogia, Shearer, and Amiobi. Aston Villa, Sorensen, Hughes, Melberg, Delaney, Samuel, Gardner, Henry, Barry, Whittingham, Moore, and Phillips. And two Teddy sides producing quite a good game for what could have been a cricket score, but we ended up 2-1. But it was 2-1 to us. That was the important thing. And we're in the right half of the league with that win. We're next with the FA Cup 5th round and home to Southampton, which game we should win. And they're certainly going to have a go. But Southampton don't make it easy. They defend really stoutly. 0-0 at half time. And the way things are going, it looks like that's how it could end, with Southampton defending the way they are. But then it's the first time I've seen our little Turkish midfielder get hold of a game the way he did with this one. And he just made their life a misery. And on 68 minutes, he put Dyer through and made it 1-0. It could have been 3 or 4 by the end, but people either missed chances or it hit woodwork or whatever. But a 1-0 win in this 5th round of the FA Cup, and everybody goes home happy. Southampton, some talented players from the continent as well as from England. Marsden, Pahars, Oakley, Jones, Wright, Cranny, Brennan, Lukman, Powell, Osterman, Baladowski is in goal. And our side unchanged, a good choice, and we end up 1-0. It could have been a lot more, but it wasn't. Now a real chance for us to push on in the league is a home match against Charlton Athletic, who are next to bottom in the table. We're well up in the league, and we've got the luxury of an unchanged side again. And Charlton come with Mary, Young, Perry, Heridison, Spector, Kishlev, Holland, Hughes, Ambrose, our former Ambrose, Marcus Bent and Darren Bent, the two Bents in the same team. And despite the fact that we're running rings around them, there's just no way does it look like the ball's going to go in the net in this game, and it doesn't. 0-0 at half time, and after half time, it looks even worse that Charlton have got so many men behind the ball and not coming out the penalty area, that it looks like a bagatelle match rather than a football match with the ball bouncing around all over. Anyway, 0-0 it ends. It's a point, but it should have been all three for us if we got our metal sorted out. And next game is a home game against Everton. Everton give us a tough time at Goodison Park. Well, let's do the same for them, and they did. It's a 5:15 kickoff because it's on Sky, and Everton. Good side, Westerveld, Yobo, Stubbs, Weir, Nunn, Valenti, Osman, Arteta. Now there's a name I conjure with, Arteta, for God's sake. Cahill, Davies, Kilban, and Beattie. Really tidy side. We've got an unchanged team, and he's stuck with the young ones he brought in, and he's playing Elliott as well. So, but it's a good game. Both sides having a go, whether it's to do television or not, I don't know. But it seemed as though they wanted to turn something on. But the person that really turned it on, this is one of the best games I've seen, Nobby Solano actually dictate from the wing. And on 64 minutes, he showed how good he was by floating what looked like a cross, which just floated in the end, floated in the top corner past the goalkeeper. And then on 76 minutes, he did the opposite and hit a volley on the on the up and right in the top corner of the net, nearly bust the net. So 2-0 defeat for Everton, a victory for us, and we're well stuck striding towards the middle of the league now, without much bother. Next game is home game against Bolton, and well, we owe them one. We didn't perform very well at Bolton, but sure enough, the full house again, 52,000, and it looks like our game from the off. You know, Solano and Shearer just dictating what was happening up front. And on 34 minutes, Solano makes it 1-0. 45, right on half-time, Shearer makes it 2. So 2-0, we go in at half-time. And on 70 minutes after the half-time whistle, Amiobi makes it 3-0 on 70 minutes. And then Davis, their dangerous forward, makes it a consolation goal, 3-1. And a good win for Newcastle. It looked like they came out, they were going to have a go, and they certainly did that. So a good win and cementing our position in the top half of the league, which was something we're hoping for, but not something the pundits were predicting, I have to say. We're then away to Old Trafford, Manchester United. Not our favourite hunting ground, but and we'll soon know why, because on 8 minutes Rooney scores, 12 minutes Rooney scores again, and so it's 2-0 at half time, and that's the way it stays. But how it did, nobody knows, because all of the Manchester United forwards, Ronaldo, Giggs, Rooney, Zaha, they all could have scored goals, but combination of good keeping by Shea Given and some bad luck for Manchester United, we managed to keep it at 2-0, but it could have been so much more. And but we're grateful for the 2-0 being what it was, because it could have been so much worse. And by this time, of course, Manchester United are I think second top in the league by now, so they're not slouched by any means. The next weekend, Sunday, 19th of March, we're back at home, but against Liverpool, which is, Manchester United, Liverpool, one after the other. It's a fairly tough call. However, we've got to play them all, and play them all we shall. But it's clear from the off, Liverpool too good forward. 10 minutes, Peter Crouch scores. 35 minutes, Gerrard makes it 2-0. Amiobi on 41 makes it 2-1. And then Cisse for Liverpool makes it 3-1. But it's not a pace, and we're second best all around, but we called it 3-1 and accept that that's where we are. And it's no surprise in many ways. I mean, that's where Liverpool are playing at the moment. And the next game is away game to Chelsea in the 6th round of the FA Cup. It's they're running away with the league again, so we know it's going to be a tough game, and we go with an unchanged side, given Carr, Elliott, Ramage, Babiaro, Solano, Bowyer, Parker, Dyer, Amiobi and Shearer, and Chelsea's talented squad: Cudicini, Jeremy, Carvalho, Terry, Dihorno, Joe Cole, Makelele, Lampard, Duff, Drogba and Gudjonsson. A really, really talented team, and the one we'd have some difficulty with. We don't help ourselves. First corner of the game to Chelsea, and Steve John Terry standing on his own, and it's 1-0. And the fact that we're forward back is gratifying, but never looked like scoring, so it stayed 1-0 to the end, and that's the FA Cup sorted for another year. yeah, it's disappointing. It's the only way I can describe it. We now go to Charlton Athletic. We haven't beaten them here. It would be nice that we'd get some points on the road, but nice is a long way from it actually happening. And Charlton are up for this game. They're in difficulty. They're knocking on the door of relegation already. And unchanged team for us, so everybody's hoping. But Charlton with Myrie, Young, Perry, Heridison, Powell, Kishlev, Holland, Hughes, Thomas, Marcus Bent, and Darius Bent in the side. Just too good for us. 24 minutes of penalty by D. Bent, Darren, and then Parker equalises on 35 against his old side. And 37 minutes an own goal by Bowyer makes it 2-1. And Boothroyd, the talented forward, makes it 3-1, which is what it shouldn't be happening at this end of the league with these teams. But it has, and that puts a dent in our league position. We're now on 1st of April, April Fool's Day. However, we're playing Tottenham Hotspur, and no April Fool about the game. Newcastle United go for this one, no doubt about it. Within 2 minutes, Lee Bowyer's put 1-0 up. 25 minutes, Amiobi's 2-0 up. 19 minutes, Keane pulls one back for Tottenham. Then on 30 minutes, Alan Shearer makes it 3-1 for Newcastle. Second half, Tottenham just shut up shop, and it's quite clear they're not going anywhere. And we win 3-1. And the important thing about that is it pushes us back to the middle of the table where we've been hanging around for a while. But now we actually got the points to stick in that position. Downside in the game, well, it got a bit nasty after about 70 minutes when the big centre-half Dawson decided he didn't like the look of Shearer and felled him and got a yellow card. And within 30 seconds, what he thought he was doing, he repeated the dose, and of course he got a red card and off he went. But it made no difference. It just emphasised the gulf between us and Spurs on that particular day. We away to Middlesbrough, the return leg of the Tyne derby, and Middlesbrough playing well, so we're going to have to be on our mettle for this one, and we are unchanged team. Given Carl, there's Moore comes in, the Australian comes in, Bramble, Elliott, Solano, Bowyer, Emery, Zogger, Shearer, and Amiobi, and it's a good game, end-to-end stuff. Boateng scores an own goal in the first half against his own side. That's Middlesbrough 1-0 down. Amiobi on 44 minutes just before the half-time whistle makes it 2-0. Boateng looks like he's determined to win this match on his own and has a go from nowhere in 79 minutes, and bang, it's 2-1. Now that gets the last 20 minutes very exciting because Middlesbrough obviously think that they're in an opportunity to win this, so they're having a go. But it doesn't happen like that, unfortunately, or fortunately for us. And we end up 2-1 winners. And with Schwarzer, Davis, Etiog, Riggett, Quadru, Morrison, Botang, Deriva, Russian back, Johnson, Yakubu. A really talented side, but well and truly beat on the day. Yeah. I was just looking at the bookings. It really was some fire in this derby game. Emery, Amiobi, Moore and Nzoglia for Newcastle. Jones, Parnaby, Macaroni and Russian back for Middlesbrough. So there was a fair bit of spice in it, but not enough to get anybody sent off. But a very, very good 2-1 win for Newcastle, with, as I say, the Boateng own goal and Amiobi's for us, and Boateng goal for his own team in the second half. But they never looked like winning it. So it's a good win by Newcastle to cement that position in the top half of the league. And the next game is a home game against Wigan Athletic, and people are hopeful that this is a one that will do something about, because Wigan are struggling at the bottom of the league, just above bottom, I think, in second bottom place, and shock horror when kick off. Got Jimmy Bullard, another of famous for long throws, scores for Wigan. They're 1-0 up, and everybody's starting to sweat a little bit. It takes till 28 minutes for Shearer to equalise, and that has to be a penalty, because Kavanagh brought somebody down in the penalty area. And then on 36 minutes, Bramble gets a header from a corner, and it's 2, which is where we're going at half time. Then 66 minutes, a Shearer goal completes the score and makes it 3-1. And there's no squeak at all from anywhere about that one. A good win and a good means of consolidating our position as in the league. So the next game is the away derby against the Mackhams, and it's a terrible windy day, but blue skies, and the full house, obviously, 48,000, and we get off to a reasonable start, but don't score. Well, lo and behold, when you don't score, particularly in derbies, the other side ends up running down the pitch and doing it for you, and that's exactly what happened. The Mackhams were a goal up by 32 minutes because Hoyt had taken the
yeah, Sunderland took the lead in this one, George.
They did. I was just looking at the Hoyt scored in 32, and although we had most of the play, we never looked like scoring until after this half time. And one of the best goals that Michael Chopra scored was the one in this game on 60 minutes. He scored a beautiful goal. 61 minutes, a penalty by Shearer. And then Exogua dribbled down the wing and got a nice goal. And that's Shearer's penalty. Classics pose of Shearer. And Albert Luque scored a nice goal as well at 87. So 4-1, a very tidy win. And really puts were nicely fixed in that middle portion of the league, and pressing to go higher than that.
And Shearer's last competitive game in a black and white shirt?
Yes, because
he got injured.
In that one, somebody sat on his knee, didn't they? And that was the end of him, really, as terms of playing.
Never played again.
It's a pity, yes. But 4-1, yeah. And I thought that was one of Chopra's better games for the Toon. Clark and Bramble booked for us, McCartney booked for them, which in a derby match is nothing out of the ordinary. Next game is West Bromwich Albion away at home, and we turned them over at the Hawthorns. We should do it again, and we do. Full house again, and West Brom not even in the game really from the off. It's going to be our game, and the performer for the day for me was Shola Amiobi. West Bromwich just couldn't do anything with him. His height and his presence just seemed to throw them off course. And 30 minutes, Nobby Solano scored. 40 minutes, Shola scores with a penalty after he'd been brought down himself. And then just before the final whistle, he gets another goal. and makes it 3-0. A very comfortable 3-0. And side unchanged, but of course no Shearer because he's already injured and isn't going to play anymore. In the West Brom side, Curtis Davis and Clement, Robson, Gira, Watson, Quashie, Greening, Campbell and Kamara. Some tidy players, but players on the wrong side of 30 and on the way out of the game, really. Next game is the away game against Birmingham. And Birmingham sitting at the wrong end of the league, but they dig their heels in with this one and make it tough for us. 0-0 at half time, and it looks like that's how it's going to stay, and it does. And it gets a bit spicy with Solano, Carr, Harpy, and Elliott getting booked for Newcastle. Bruce, Tailby, Melchior, and Johnson, all in the book for Birmingham. So it's not a nice. It's a bit spicy, shall we say, and 0-0. But it keeps our position in where we are in the league quite tidy. And the next game, the last league game, is Chelsea at home. Chelsea have won the league by a street again, and so they're not, they're not going to come and lie down. And it's a really entertaining game. They have a go, we don't lie down. We have a go back, and so it's end-to-end stuff. 0-0 at half time, and nobody can remember why, because every bit of woodwork must have been hit at least once, if not twice, and more. It looks like it's desperate for a 0-0, and then lo and behold, on 73 minutes we get a corner, and they leave Bramble standing on his own. Well, even Bramble couldn't miss the ball he got right in front of goal and made it 1-0, a 1-0 victory for us. And well done. That we played the champions at their own game and came off winning. And once again, Newcastle fans deserve the accolade because they were champions and won by a street, and once again applauded off the field by everybody at St James's Park, which I think is great tribute to our fans. There's one more game to mention, and that's the testimonial for Alan Shearer. And the reporter on here describes the conditions as fantastic, and how right he was. I mean, it was a joy to be at the game, not just for him, but for everybody there, and for those two clowns on the pitch as well. Like so many others, I've still got my Alan Shearer testimonial scarf, which occasionally I wear for St James's Park. And Celtic took part in what was an excellent game. And there's still the classic pose of Alan Shearer taking the penalty. He actually came off the bench just to take that penalty, and Celtic took part in that. That was really good. So, score 3-2 Newcastle. Well, the score was immaterial. It was the fact that everybody took part, and each side fielded 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 substitutes for us. 8 substitutes for Celtic. And 10 for us. I think everybody that was signed on a professional form for Newcastle, and 1 or 2 who came back, like Ferdinand and Patterson, Matty Patterson, Gary Speed, all came back and took part in what was a fantastic night to remember. So good way to end the season, and a good way to confound our critics, because we weren't predicted at all to do anything in this season, and we ended up 7th, and with a little bit of luck it could have been higher than that. And of course the usual shenanigans off the pitch. Soon as sacked, Glenn Roeder appointed, and all of that. Coach and staff change. We ended up with Murray, Saunders and Tommy Craig back as coaches. Others that had been there a while disappeared into the atmosphere. 7th in the Premier League, semi-final of the Intertoto Cup, quarter-final of the FA Cup, round 4 of the League Cup. So we give it a go. Average attendance, 52,100, which is, just tremendous. Beggars belief that that we could do that. A season which we weren't predicted to do anything. And I think a lot of people thought when there was the schmozzle about soon as the sacking, and that wouldn't do any good either. In fact, we seemed to recover quite well, because towards the end of the season, we got some really decent victories. But to finish up in seventh was very creditable, and a stepping stone for what was for seasons ahead. We hoped.
Amazing.
So,
great stuff as always, George. 2005, 2006 wrapped up. How will Newcastle cope without Shearer? We'll have to find out in the next episode.
Certainly will.
George, thanks for your time, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, everybody.